Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we sift through the noise, distill complex information, and bring you the essential nuggets of knowledge and insight. Right now, if you're tuned into the tech world, you've undoubtedly noticed an absolutely electric buzz. The landscape is just dominated by massive mergers and acquisitions, particularly in the booming realm of cloud technology.
Yeah, it really is. We're talking about colossal numbers, huge valuations, and maybe more importantly, even bigger implications for how we all use technology, how businesses run.
And even how governments secure their digital infrastructure. It feels like everything's shifting.
It truly feels like a pivotal moment. This isn't just about companies getting bigger. It's about a fundamental re-architecture of market capabilities and strategic positions. The scale and speed of these transactions are signaling a major shift in priorities across the tech industry, driven by some really deep-seated technological and economic forces.
That's right. So our mission today is to take a comprehensive deep dive into the 2025 tech mergers and acquisitions outlook. We're going to zoom in on the explosive growth of the cloud security market, which is clearly a critical battleground right now.
Absolutely essential.
And then we'll zero in on one of the most talked about deals of the year, Google's proposed acquisition of the cybersecurity unicorn, Wiz. We'll try to unpack the core drivers behind these massive shifts, explore the cutting-edge technologies involved, navigate the intricate financial dynamics that make these deals so complex.
And the intense competitive forces at play, definitely.
Right.
We need to look at that broader competitive landscape of cloud services too, and how regulators are, frankly, scrambling to keep pace with an industry that moves at lightning speed.
Right. Understanding these interconnected threads hopefully will give you a much clearer picture of where the digital economy is headed. We'll examine it from multiple angles.
From the boardrooms making these monumental deals, to the regulatory bodies trying to ensure fair play, and ultimately what it means for you, the end user, and the companies you interact with every single day.
Okay, before we embark on this deep dive, this segment is brought to you by Stonefly. If you're looking for enterprise storage, backup, and disaster recovery, or maybe cutting-edge AI storage and cloud solutions, Stonefly is a recognized leader in the field.
They really are. They specialize in secure, ransomware-proof storage, offering air-gapped and immutable solutions. That provides, an unparalleled layer of data protection against even the most sophisticated threats.
Exactly. You can contact sales@stonefly.com to schedule a demo and see how they can safeguard your most critical assets. So let's start by looking at the big picture, the resurgent tech M&A landscape for 2025, after what was a noticeably subdued period throughout 2023 and much of 2024.
Yeah, things were pretty quiet for a bit there.
It really feels like the tech M&A market is poised for a significant rebound. It's almost like a coiled spring, holding immense pent-up activity and strategic ambition, now just ready to release. What's driving this sudden collective urge to merge and acquire?
That analogy of a coiled spring is spot on, I think. We're seeing an almost universal optimism from deal makers. It's quite remarkable, actually. An impressive 87% of them are anticipating an increase in transaction volumes for 2025.
87%, that's not just a minor uptick.
No, not at all. It signals a really robust recovery and a deep-seated belief in the underlying fundamentals of the tech sector. And this confidence isn't just about the number of deals, but the nature of them.
And that's where it gets truly intriguing, isn't it? Because the scale is definitely shifting. We're not just talking about more deals, but significantly larger ones.
Exactly. The market is expected to pivot towards transformative, high-value transactions, specifically those exceeding $10 billion.
10 billion plus. Wow.
Yeah. This indicates a desire for significant strategic moves rather than just smaller incremental additions. Companies are looking to make big, bold bets to consolidate market positions, acquire critical new capabilities, or maybe even completely redefine their competitive edge.
And when we connect this to the broader financial picture, private equity seems to be playing a huge role here.
They are. Private equity firms are proving far more bullish than their corporate counterparts in this environment. They are actively leveraging substantial available capital, often referred to as dry powder, to drive strategic acquisitions.
Right. They've got the cash ready to deploy.
Precisely. This positions them as critical growth engines in this renewed market, actively seeking out potentially undervalued assets or companies with strong growth potential that can be scaled rapidly. Their confidence often stems from their ability to take a longer-term view, optimize operational efficiencies post-acquisition.
And crucially, their investment models are often less sensitive to those short-term public market fluctuations, right?
That's a key point. It allows them to make calculated risks where corporate entities, perhaps beholden to quarterly earnings, might be more conservative. It's almost a counter-cyclical play. While some corporate players might still be de-risking after the recent downturn, PE sees undervalued opportunities and has the patient capital to unlock them.
And speaking of capabilities, one of the most significant core drivers for this M&A surge is undoubtedly AI and the broader digital transformation push.
Oh, absolutely central. Artificial intelligence, especially generative AI, is no longer just a theoretical concept or some niche buzzword.
It's everywhere now.
It is. It's set to significantly increase its adoption across virtually all industries. And this widespread integration is directly shaping acquisition strategies. Companies aren't just looking to acquire products anymore. They're looking to acquire the core AI capabilities, the underlying technology, and crucially, the specialized talent that can drive future innovation across their entire enterprise.
So it's about buying the engine, not just the car.
That's a great way to put it. Delving deeper, the focus for these AI-driven acquisitions is on critical functionalities that offer immediate, tangible value. Companies are prioritizing targets that can bring advanced AI-powered analytics to the table, significantly enhance the automation of internal deal processes, making M&A itself more efficient, and, critically, strengthen cybersecurity solutions with intelligent, adaptive defenses.
Imagine integrating AI directly into the heart of business operations through strategic M&A. That's transformative.
It really is. This isn't just about adding a new feature. It's about fundamentally re-architecting how businesses operate, from internal efficiencies and data analysis to external threat protection. It's about buying the intelligence, not just the software or hardware.
And beyond just AI, that broader push for digital transformation continues to fuel this demand, right?
Absolutely. Companies are prioritizing acquisitions that beef up their tech capabilities across the board. This includes strengthening areas such as data analytics, AI itself, and various forms of automation. Ultimately, it's about building a more agile, data-driven, and efficient future for their organizations, ensuring they can compete effectively and adapt quickly in a rapidly evolving digital economy.
It's not just what is being acquired that's changing, but how these deals are being put together. You mentioned the mechanisms are evolving.
Yes, exactly. The landscape of tech M&A isn't merely about who is buying whom, but the evolving mechanisms used to structure these agreements. There's been a notable shift, reflecting increased caution and more sophisticated risk management strategies from both buyers and sellers, especially in a somewhat volatile market.
That's fascinating. What kind of shifts are we seeing?
Well, one clear trend is the rise of earnouts. These are, contingent considerations. It means a portion of the purchase price isn't paid up front, but is tied directly to the acquired company's future performance, maybe hitting certain revenue targets or profit margins down the line.
So pay for performance, basically.
Pretty much. Consider this. 1/3 of deals in 2023 included an earnout. That represents more than a 50% increase year over year compared to the preceding 3 years.
Wow, that's a significant jump.
It is. And the amount of consideration tied to these earnouts also saw a slight increase, indicating a clear desire to align payouts with future success and manage the risk inherent in high-growth, often pre-profit, tech companies.
Makes sense. What else is changing in deal structures?
We're also observing an increased use of special escrows. These are distinct from the general indemnification escrow, which is standard practice. Nearly half of deals involving representation and warranty insurance, RWI, which is basically an insurance policy covering breaches of promises made by the seller.
Right, the insurance covers potential misrepresentations.
Exactly. Nearly half of those deals now include an additional escrow for purposes other than general indemnification or purchase price adjustment.
So a specific pot of money set aside for specific risks.
Precisely. While the median size for general indemnification escrows remains around 10% of transaction value for deals without RWI, it drops to a much smaller 0.5% for those with RWI. This suggests a more granular and targeted approach to managing specific post-deal risks, providing a dedicated cushion for particular known or suspected liabilities.
And what about from the seller side? How are their obligations changing?
That's evolving too. In 2023, there was a noticeable decrease in walkaway deals. These are situations where the seller's general representations and warranties essentially expired at closing, meaning they had no liability afterward.
So fewer sellers getting off scot-free immediately.
Basically, yes. It indicates a tightening of terms, where sellers are increasingly required to stand by their assurances for a period post-acquisition. The median survival period for these representations and warranties also returned to 12 months, while the average stayed the same.
So what does this all mean for dealmakers navigating this?
It means a more complex, nuanced negotiation landscape. Both buyers and sellers are meticulously scrutinizing the terms to mitigate future risks and ensure accountability. It's less about a quick handoff and more about a shared, albeit time-limited, responsibility for the state of the business being sold.
Okay, so the deal structures themselves are getting more sophisticated. But what about the bigger picture? How are regional dynamics and global uncertainties affecting all this M&A activity?
That's a crucial layer. These evolving deal structures show a more cautious approach from within, but external forces are definitely shaping the market. Let's zoom out. While optimism is high in some areas, Europe's M&A market, for instance, remains quite cautious.
Why is that?
Regulatory scrutiny, mainly. In the UK and the EU, it's intensifying. They're specifically targeting what they label as killer acquisitions, deals where a big player might buy a small, innovative rival just to shut it down or prevent it from becoming a future competitor.
Stifling innovation before it gets started.
That's the concern. This adds a layer of complexity and potential delay to European deals, as regulators are keen to ensure competitive markets remain vibrant.
And what about other regions? China.
China is seeing a mild tech M&A rebound, but geopolitical tensions and persistent regulatory hurdles continue to slow its full recovery. It also makes foreign investment more challenging there. It's a very different environment, shaped by unique political and economic factors that limit the speed and scale of cross-border transactions.
Compared to North America.
In stark contrast, North America shows significant optimism, a generally pro-business stance, particularly the potential for one under a Trump administration, is expected by some to encourage deal-making by possibly easing some regulatory burdens.
But there are still headwinds, right? Like inflation?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Inflation and broader economic uncertainty remain key concerns that could still impact deal flow, requiring careful navigation for businesses even in an optimistic climate. No one's throwing caution completely to the wind.
Now, there's an interesting perspective from Wolf Corner about potential risks, like trade wars.
Yes, that's worth highlighting. The risk of trade wars is seen as higher than in 2024, with unpredictable policy shifts potentially leading to sudden tariff changes. This immediately raises a critical question. How will counteractions from other global powers affect cross-border M&A activity?
Right, a tariff here could trigger a response there.
Exactly. Interestingly, potential trade tariffs might actually push international companies to acquire U.S.-based firms, rather than investing abroad or exporting to the U.S.
To get inside the tariff wall, so to speak.
Precisely. This trend could potentially drive higher valuations in the U.S. tech sector due to increased demand for domestic targets, creating a kind of fortress America for M&A. But overall, geopolitical instability continues to cause caution, leading to delays or disruptions in planned deals as decision-makers become more risk-averse.
And beyond the economics and politics, two other factors are becoming really critical in due diligence, aren't they? Cybersecurity and ESG.
Absolutely critical. An impressive 82% of dealmakers cite cybersecurity as a critical factor in M&A due diligence. That reflects the immense financial, operational, and reputational risks associated with cyber breaches. Nobody wants to buy a company only to find it's riddled with security holes.
No kidding, and ESG.
Environmental, social, and governance compliance. 84% of dealmakers anticipate increased ESG regulatory scrutiny. This makes sustainability, ethical practices, and robust governance not just nice-to-haves, but key considerations and sometimes even deal breakers. Companies are realizing that ignoring these factors can lead to significant post-acquisition liabilities and reputational damage.
So putting it all together, despite all these complexities, these uncertainties, the cautious regions, the geopolitical jitters, the overall outlook for tech M&A in 2025 is still positive.
Remarkably positive, yes. There are significant opportunities for well-planned and strategic acquisitions. The key to success, though, will be agility, meticulous strategic risk assessment, a deep understanding of those regional market dynamics we talked about, and a laser focus on long-term value creation rather than just short-term gains.
It's not just about jumping into the market then, it's about making smart, informed moves.
Exactly. Building resilience and future growth.
Okay, let's pivot our focus now to a market that's absolutely exploding in growth and is central to many of these M&A discussions, the booming cloud security market. Let's start with the basics. What exactly are we talking about here?
At its core, the cloud security market is all about the solutions and services designed to protect data, applications, and infrastructure within cloud computing environments. This covers a huge range of defenses, everything from encryption and identity and access management, or IAM,
Right.
to sophisticated threat detection, continuous compliance monitoring, vulnerability management, the whole shebang needed to keep cloud assets safe.
And the growth projections are just staggering, aren't they?
They really are. What's truly striking here is the sheer scale of anticipated growth. The market, which accounted for roughly USD 45.9 billion in 2024, is expected to skyrocket, and I mean skyrocket, to USD 270.5 billion by 2035.
Wow, from 46 billion to over 270 billion in about a decade.
Yep, that's a staggering compound annual growth rate, or CAGR, of around 17.5% over the next 10 years. To put that in perspective, this isn't just healthy growth, it's a massive acceleration. It signals how absolutely critical and indispensable these solutions are becoming for businesses and governments alike.
It really reflects an urgent, pervasive need to secure digital assets as more and more operations just fundamentally shift to the cloud, doesn't it?
It does, it's non-negotiable now.
So what's driving this phenomenal demand? What are the key forces behind this explosion?
Well, the primary force, unsurprisingly, is the widespread adoption of cloud computing services themselves across virtually all industries. Businesses are flocking to the cloud for its compelling benefits. Scalability, operational efficiency, remote accessibility, all things that have become table stakes in our digital economy.
But that shift creates new risks.
Exactly. This transformative shift, while hugely beneficial, inherently exposes organizations to significant cybersecurity risks. We're talking sophisticated data breaches, unauthorized access attempts, highly disruptive cyber attacks, specifically targeting cloud weaknesses. It's a simple equation. More sensitive data and critical operations moving to the cloud means an exponentially higher demand for robust protection.
And the threats themselves are getting worse, right? The digital space is a battleground.
It really is. We're witnessing an alarming increase in the sophistication and frequency of cyber threats, data breaches, and particularly ransomware attacks, specifically targeting cloud environments. As businesses migrate their valuable assets to the cloud, cybercriminals are diligently following, looking for any weakness to exploit sensitive information, disrupt operations, or hold data ransom.
We hear about major breaches all the time now: finance, healthcare, e-commerce.
Exactly. Those highly publicized breaches underscore the urgency organizations feel to invest in top-tier cloud security measures. It's no longer a luxury item on the IT budget. It's a fundamental requirement for survival and maintaining customer trust.
And it's not just the criminals driving this investment. Regulations play a big part too.
A huge part. Beyond the direct threat of cyber attacks, increasingly stringent data protection legislation around the globe, think GDPR, CCPA, and others, is forcing businesses to invest heavily in compliance. This means not just protecting data, but having to actively demonstrate and prove that they're doing so, often through rigorous audits and adherence to strict frameworks.
So compliance is a major cost driver pushing security spending.
Definitely. These laws are pushing companies to adopt best-in-class security practices, not just to prevent breaches, but to avoid crippling fines and significant reputational damage.
Now, you mentioned AI earlier in the M&A context. It's also playing a role here in cloud security itself, isn't it? Both as a threat and a solution.
Absolutely. It's important to note that AI and machine learning are not just part of the problem. Attackers are using AI too, but they're also an incredibly powerful part of the solution. These emerging technologies are continuously improving threat detection and response functionalities within cloud security products.
How so?
Well, they create this sort of self-reinforcing cycle of innovation. AI can process vast amounts of security data in real time, identifying complex patterns and subtle anomalies that human analysts might easily miss. This significantly enhances the overall security posture and enables a much more proactive defense against these constantly evolving threats. It's security that learns.
That proactive element seems key. Which brings us to some of the big growth opportunities and innovations within this market. What's really exciting right now?
One major area of growth, and a concept gaining immense traction, is the demand for zero-trust security frameworks.
Zero trust. We hear that term a lot. What does it actually mean in practice?
It represents a radical departure from traditional trust-based approaches. The old model was kind of like a castle and moat. Once you were inside the network perimeter, entities were generally granted a degree of implicit trust.
Right. Hard shell, soft, chewy center.
Exactly. With zero trust, the fundamental principle is never trust, always verify. It involves continuous verification of all users, devices, and applications attempting to access cloud services, regardless of whether they are inside or outside the traditional network boundary.
So no assumptions. Everyone gets checked every time.
Pretty much. It's like demanding ID every single step of the way, no matter who you are or where you're coming from. It makes no assumptions about inherent trustworthiness based on location or past access.
And why is that approach becoming so popular?
This strategy is increasingly chosen by businesses dealing with secret or highly sensitive information because it dramatically reduces the chance of inadvertent access, data leaks, and especially insider attacks by continuously validating access permissions in real time.
Okay, so zero trust is one big area. What about AI's role in threat intelligence?
That's where the rubber truly meets the road for rapid response times. The integration of AI-driven threat intelligence is crucial. AI-based security systems can process that huge volume of data in real time, detecting potential weaknesses, spotting anomalous behavior that indicates an attack.
And even predicting attacks before they happen.
Potentially, yes.
Yeah.
Forecasting cyber attacks before they fully materialize. This proactive mindset allows companies to act much faster, minimize damage, and even preempt threats entirely. AI automates threat detection and response, reducing the burden on human analysts, and critically, it continuously learns from new threats, making the cloud security mechanisms more accurate and efficient over time.
It's security that learns and adapts, constantly getting smarter.
That's the goal.
Now, the cloud security market isn't just one thing, is it? It's segmented into different types of protection.
That's right. It's segmented into various types, each addressing a specific protection need, creating a kind of layered defense. You have data security, which focuses on protecting sensitive information itself from illegal access and exploitation.
Okay, protecting the crown jewels.
Exactly. Then there's network security, ensuring efficient and secure data transmission across cloud environments. Application security, or AppSec, protects cloud-based applications from vulnerabilities and attacks right at the software level.
Makes sense. What else?
Then you've got endpoint security, securing all the devices connecting to the cloud laptops, mobile phones, servers, everything. Identity and access management, IAM, which is crucial for controlling who has access to what, ensuring only the right people access the right resources with the right permissions.
The gatekeeper function.
Precisely. Then there's security information and event management, or SIEM, which provides real-time monitoring and analysis of security events across the entire digital infrastructure, correlating logs to spot incidents. And finally, threat intelligence and protection, which is about proactively identifying, analyzing, and mitigating potential risks before they can cause harm, often using external data feeds.
It's a lot of different layers. And the companies in this space offer specific products or platforms to address these needs.
Yes, they provide a wide range of comprehensive offerings that often overlap and integrate to form a holistic security posture. Think of it like building defenses for a city. You need different types of protection.
Okay, like what?
You have tools like Cloud Security Posture Management, or CSPM. Think of CSPM as a constant auditor, making sure your cloud configurations comply with security best practices and regulations, looking for misconfigurations.
Got it. What else?
Then there are Cloud Access Security Brokers, or CSBs. These act like security checkpoints between your users and cloud services, giving you visibility and control over who's accessing your cloud apps and what data they're moving.
Controlling the traffic.
Right. And cloud workload protection platforms, or CWPPs, are like personal bodyguards for the actual applications and data running on those cloud servers, protecting the workloads themselves no matter where they reside, VMs, containers, serverless functions.
Protecting the things doing the work.
Exactly. Then there's Security Service Edge, or SSE, which is a newer concept, bundling several security services delivered from the cloud edge, protecting remote users and branch offices connecting to apps and the internet. And as we discussed, zero trust security underpins many of these, focusing on strict identity validation at every access point. It's a robust and, frankly, ever-evolving ecosystem of solutions trying to keep up with the threats.
It really is a complex landscape. What about geographically? Where is this market concentrated?
When we look at the regional dynamics, North America clearly dominates the cloud security market currently.
Why is that?
It's driven by rapid cloud adoption across critical sectors like healthcare, banking, and retail, coupled with the sheer volume of increasing cyber attacks targeting those industries, and also very stringent regulations that demand higher security standards. Plus, it's home to many of the major global cloud service providers and leading cybersecurity organizations that continuously drive innovation in this space. It creates this sort of virtuous cycle of demand and supply.
But it's not the fastest growing region, is it?
No, that's the Asia-Pacific region. APAC is experiencing exponential growth, marking it as the fastest-growing market.
What's fueling that growth?
Massive digital transformation initiatives across its diverse economies, rapidly increasing cloud adoption, particularly mobile-first cloud usage. Also, the rising frequency of cyber attacks in the region, coupled with aggressive government digitalization efforts, are accelerating demand for effective security measures and compliance with evolving international data protection requirements. It's a rapidly expanding frontier for cloud security, with significant investment and innovation happening there.
And who are the main players competing in this global arena?
The market is intensely competitive, as you'd expect with that kind of growth. There's a diverse array of players vying for market share and pushing the boundaries of innovation. Leading players include names like Palo Alto Networks.
Known for firewalls, but big in cloud now, too.
Very big in cloud now, known for their high-end threat prevention and comprehensive cloud-centric security products. Then you have Check Point Software Technologies, with a strong focus on perimeter and data security in the cloud, often providing consolidated security gateways. And Cisco, of course, a powerhouse in network security, especially for multi-cloud environments, ensuring secure data transmission and robust connectivity.
Okay, those are some big names. Any others?
Definitely. Other important stakeholders are Fortinet, providing a comprehensive suite of firewall and cloud security services, often integrated across various environments. Zscaler, a recognized leader in zero-trust cloud security solutions, especially for secure access from anywhere. And McAfee, with its broad cloud-based security platform protecting against sophisticated attacks and ensuring data integrity.
And these companies are constantly innovating, right? You mentioned Palo Alto and Cisco launching new things recently.
Exactly. This constant innovation is what makes the market so dynamic and fiercely competitive. For instance, in January 2025, Palo Alto Networks launched an AI-integrated cloud security platform designed for real-time threat detection and automated responses. And just before that, in December 2024, Cisco introduced an advanced multi-cloud security solution aimed at stronger data protection and seamless integration with cloud-native applications. This relentless pace of development truly highlights the critical importance of staying ahead of the ever-evolving threats. It really does. Okay, let's zoom in now on the blockbuster deal that has truly captured everyone's attention and ties directly into this cloud security boom. Google's proposed acquisition of Wiz. This feels like a really deep dive into potential disruption and the intense regulatory scrutiny it's facing.
It's definitely the talk of the town in tech M&A right now. On March 18, 2025, Google Cloud announced its definitive agreement to acquire Wiz, and the price tag.
Staggering. $32 billion. That makes it the most expensive acquisition in Google's history, right? By far.
By a huge margin, yes. It's an eye-popping figure that immediately signals the immense strategic value Google sees in Wiz and its position in the cloud security market.
What's particularly telling about this deal you mentioned earlier is how they seem to have anticipated regulatory pushback. That reverse breakup fee.
Yes, that's fascinating. Google agreed to a substantial reverse breakup fee of $3.2 billion if the deal fails specifically due to regulatory issues.
$3.2 billion, that's 10% of the deal value. Exactly. Yeah. Which is significantly higher than the typical 5% to 8% you usually see offered by acquirers in these situations. This immediately raises a crucial question. What does such a high breakup fee imply?
It implies they know they might have a fight on their hands, but they really want this deal to go through.
Precisely. It suggests they believe the regulatory hurdles are considerable, perhaps likely, but the strategic importance of Wiz for their cloud ambitions is even greater, making it a risk worth taking, even at that high potential cost if it fails.
So what is Google's stated reason for spending $32 billion on Wiz? What's the official rationale?
According to Thomas Kurian, the CEO of Google Cloud, the stated rationale for this monumental acquisition is to provide businesses and governments with more choice in how they protect themselves in an increasingly complex digital world. The overarching goal is to build a comprehensive security platform that effectively protects modern IT environments that are often multi-cloud and hybrid.
And they're pointing to the rising risks.
Yes. They highlight accelerating cybersecurity risks, the inherent complexity of managing security across these distributed deployments, and importantly, new, evolving risks coming from AI models as key reasons why traditional security approaches are struggling to keep pace. They see Wiz as the critical piece needed to solve this growing challenge for their customers.
And how does Wiz fit with what Google already offers in security?
Google views Wiz as fundamentally complementing its current security solutions, creating a much more robust and integrated offering. Their existing suite includes things like Google Threat Intelligence, which provides detailed insights into threats.
Right.
Google Security Operations, formerly Chronicle CCOPS, designed for comprehensive data collection and identifying high-priority threats, and Mandiant Consulting, which they acquired previously, offering world-class frontline expertise for incident response and understanding attacker behavior.
So Wiz adds something different to that mix.
It adds a crucial proactive layer. Wiz provides that immediate visibility and control over cloud environments, identifying risks before incidents even occur. It fits neatly ahead of the detection and response capabilities they already have.
Okay, let's talk about Wiz itself. It's described as a cybersecurity unicorn. What makes it so special?
It truly is a phenomenon, a testament to its disruptive power in the market. Wiz achieved an astonishing $100 million in annual recurring revenue, or ARR, just 18 months after its launch in 2020.
18 months to $100 million ARR. That's incredible speed.
It's almost unheard of. And now it boasts an impressive $500 million in ARR. This rapid ascent highlights its groundbreaking approach and its ability to quickly capture a significant market share, making it one of the fastest-growing enterprise software companies possibly ever.
So what does it actually do that's so groundbreaking? What are its key capabilities?
A key differentiator for Wiz, and a significant reason for its value, is its seamless cloud security platform. It's unique in its ability to connect to all major clouds and code environments without requiring cumbersome agents to be installed.
All major clouds. So AWS, Azure, Google Cloud itself, Oracle.
Yes, Amazon Web Services, Alibaba Cloud, Google Cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, Microsoft Azure, even Dell VMware environments. What Wiz does is rapidly scan these customer environments, building a comprehensive graph. Think of it as a dynamic map.
A map of everything in the cloud.
Exactly. A map of code, cloud resources, services, applications, identities, data, and crucially, it understands the complex connections and dependencies between all those things. This holistic view allows it to precisely identify potential attack paths, how an attacker could chain together vulnerabilities and prioritize the critical risks much more effectively than traditional siloed security tools that just look at one piece of the puzzle.
And it helps developers too, right? The shift left idea.
Yes, that's another huge part of its appeal. It empowers enterprise developers to actually secure applications before deployment, helping prevent incidents from happening in the first place by identifying vulnerabilities early in the development lifecycle.
So catching problems in the blueprint stage, not after the building is up.
That's a great analogy. It dramatically reduces the cost and complexity of fixing issues later on. Furthermore, Wiz facilitates critical collaboration between security teams and developers to remediate risks directly in the code, or to detect and block ongoing attacks in real time. It bridges that traditional gap.
And they're creating new categories.
They are. Wiz isn't just following trends, it's arguably creating them. They've introduced new categories, or at least popularized concepts in cybersecurity just in the last 12 months, including code-to-cloud security and cloud-native runtime defense, fundamentally rethinking how security is managed in modern cloud environments.
And who's actually using Wiz? What does their customer base look like?
Their impressive clientele speaks volumes about its effectiveness and the trust it has garnered. Wiz counts 40% of Fortune 100 companies among its clients.
40%.
Yes, including global luxury brands like LVMH, tech giants like Slack and DocuSign, financial powerhouses like Morgan Stanley, and hospitality leaders like IHG Hotels and Resorts. Beyond the private sector, it also serves critical government entities like the U.S. Navy. This client roster alone indicates the profound reliance that major organizations place on Wiz's capabilities for their most sensitive operations.
Okay, so $32 billion, a dominant player in cloud security, rapid growth, Fortune 100 clients. It's maybe not surprising that antitrust alarm bells are ringing.
Not surprising at all. Given the scale and strategic nature of this acquisition, the U.S. Department of Justice, the DOJ, has indeed opened an antitrust review into the acquisition.
What does that involve?
Well, the review is still in its preliminary stages and could last months. It involves extensive discussions with both companies, crucially with their competitors, think Palo Alto, CrowdStrike, Microsoft, AWS, and also with their customers, to fully assess the potential impact on competition in this rapidly evolving cloud security market.
And there are critics already voicing strong opposition.
Oh, yes. Critics, particularly the American Economic Liberties Project, have been very vocal. They argue that Google is already a court-declared monopolist, citing previous antitrust findings regarding app distribution and ongoing lawsuits concerning internet search and advertising.
So they're saying Google's too powerful already.
That's their argument. They allege that Google is using its limitless resources, as they put it, to seize a choke point in the fast-growing cloud-based cybersecurity market. Their fear is that if Google were to control this vital area, especially given Wiz's multi-cloud capabilities, it would inevitably lead to a less secure internet by stifling competition and innovation in the security space.
Now, Google has made a lot of acquisitions over the years, hasn't it?
A huge number. Over 250 since 2003, including those high-profile ones like YouTube and Android that really reshaped entire industries. More recently in the security space, Google acquired Mandiant in 2022 for $5.4 billion.
And the DOJ looked at that deal, too.
They did review it, but ultimately did not challenge it. The argument there was perhaps that Mandiant, focusing on incident response and threat intelligence, was complementary to Google's offerings rather than directly competitive in a way that harmed the market.
So how does Google defend the Wiz deal against these antitrust concerns?
Google, for its part, has been quick to defend the deal and try to assure the market.
Oh.
They've explicitly stated, very publicly, that Wiz's products will continue to work and be available across all major cloud platforms, including those offered by its direct competitors like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, and Oracle Cloud.
So they're promising not to make Wiz exclusive to Google Cloud.
That's the promise. They emphasize a commitment to partnering with other leading cloud security providers, aiming to alleviate concerns about lock-in or using Wiz to force customers onto Google Cloud. Furthermore, some market analyses argue that the deal is actually about Google playing catch-up in the cloud security market, not consolidating an already dominant lead.
Catch up? How so?
Well, look at the market share numbers. Wiz, despite its rapid growth, holds only an estimated 11% share in the Cloud Native Application Protection Platform, or CNAPP, market. That trails established players like Palo Alto Networks and CrowdStrike.
Okay, so Wiz isn't the market leader itself.
Not in CNAPP market share, no. And similarly, Google's own infrastructure as a service, IaaS public cloud business, while growing, still significantly lags the leaders. Amazon AWS has around 39% market share, Microsoft Azure has about 23%, while Google Cloud holds only about 8.2%.
So the argument is Google needs Wiz to compete more effectively, not to dominate.
That's the counter-argument, yes. It immediately raises a crucial question for the DOJ. Does this acquisition truly represent a threat to competition by creating a monopoly, or is it actually a necessary strategic move for Google to become a more effective and robust competitor, particularly in the multi-cloud security landscape? Could it potentially benefit customers by providing a stronger, integrated third option against AWS and Microsoft?
That's precisely the core tension the regulators have to grapple with, isn't it? Weighing potential harm against potential benefits and competitive dynamics.
Exactly. It's a complex calculation.
So what is Google's broader ambition here? What's the vision for combining Google's existing security operations with Wiz?
Google's broader cloud security ambition with Wiz is clearly to create a next-generation, unified security platform, one that seamlessly combines Wiz's cloud security platform, its scanning, graph, and risk prioritization capabilities with Google security operations for threat detection, investigation, and response.
A single pane of glass for cloud security.
That's the dream for many security teams. The ultimate aim is to secure cloud-native applications at every single stage of the development lifecycle, protecting everything from the initial lines of code through the CI/CD systems where software is built and deployed, right down to the underlying cloud infrastructure where it runs. It's about building a comprehensive digital fortress from code to cloud.
And what new capabilities would this combined entity offer?
It would offer significantly enhanced capabilities, going far beyond what either company could likely achieve alone. It promises more precise and actionable threat intelligence, leveraging Google's scale and Mandiant's insights. It aims for new levels of threat protection specifically tailored against emerging AI-related threats, using AI to fight AI, essentially.
Interesting. AI agents, too.
Yes, the innovative use of AI-powered cybersecurity agents designed to act as an extension of human security teams, automating mundane tasks, accelerating response times, and freeing up analysts for more complex work. It would also deeply integrate Mandiant's renowned expertise for incident response when breaches do occur.
And measuring effectiveness.
That's another key promise.
Yeah.
Providing the ability to measure cyber defense effectiveness by proactively testing and validating security controls. This is about moving from just having defenses to actually knowing if they work against real-world attack techniques, moving from reactive defense to proactive, measurable cyber resilience.
So what's the bottom line for customers? What's the value proposition Google is selling here?
The ultimate value proposition for customers, according to Google, is better, more integrated security for their complex enterprise systems, and potentially a lower overall cost of maintaining a strong security posture across their entire environment, both on-premises and across multiple clouds.
And that multi-cloud promise is key.
Absolutely. The commitment to maintaining Wiz's availability across rival cloud platforms is crucial to this promise. They need to reassure customers that they won't be locked into the Google ecosystem, but will instead gain a robust security layer that works everywhere they operate. It's a truly monumental bet on a unified, AI-driven future for cloud security, designed to address the immense challenges of the modern digital landscape.
It really is. Okay, now let's broaden our view again. We've talked a lot about security, but let's look at the overall cloud services market beyond just security to truly understand its competitive dynamics and the challenges it faces. It feels like the foundation of the modern economy now.
It really is. With the growing digitization of the economy across every single sector, companies are significantly increasing their spending on IT, and within that spending, cloud services are now undeniably prevailing. Companies are rapidly migrating from traditional, privately owned IT infrastructure, servers in their own basements or data centers, to flexible, scalable cloud computing models.
It's a fundamental, irreversible shift, isn't it?
It seems to be. And this shift is driven by an incredibly powerful value proposition, one that's almost irresistible for modern businesses. Cloud services offer immediate infrastructure that's customized to scale up or down on demand, driving immense operational efficiencies. No more buying servers for peak load that sit idle most of the time.
And it helps innovation.
Critically, yes. It cultivates innovation by freeing up company resources from managing cumbersome hardware and infrastructure maintenance, allowing them to focus entirely on developing new products, improving customer services, and driving actual business growth. It enables the rapid testing of new products and business models with minimal upfront investment or risk. You can spin up resources, try something, and spin it down if it doesn't work.
So the benefits are pretty clear. Lower costs, potentially.
Lower capital expenditures, definitely. And often lower operational costs, too. Higher potential for innovation, unparalleled scalability to handle fluctuating demand, immense flexibility in deployment and service models, high processing speed for complex data analytics or AI.
Enhanced data security, too, potentially, even though some worry about it.
Potentially, yes. Specialized providers often have resources for security that individual companies can't match, and greatly simplified maintenance, since most of the heavy lifting patching servers, managing networks, is handled by the third-party cloud provider. These are incredibly compelling reasons for businesses, large and small, to make the leap to the cloud.
But it's not always easy, right? Especially for smaller companies. What are the challenges?
No, it's not without hurdles. Despite the undeniable benefits, firms, especially small and medium-sized enterprises, SMEs, occasionally face significant challenges that can slow their cloud adoption. One big one is just the sheer cloud management complexity. Navigating a myriad of services, configurations, billing models. It can be daunting.
And finding the right people.
That's another major one. A persistent lack of in-house expertise. Specialized cloud skills are still in very high demand and can be expensive. Then there are those security concerns we touched on, sometimes stemming from a lack of trust in shared resources, like public clouds, even if that fear isn't always technically justified.
Compliance is another big one.
Huge. Compliance issues, where clear rules, certifications, and audit trails are required for securely shifting sensitive data from internal storage to external cloud environments, especially across borders. And finally, the inherent complexity of the cloud migration process itself can be a significant technical and organizational barrier. It's not just flicking a switch.
Yet, despite these hurdles, the overall trend is just relentless expansion, isn't it?
Truly unstoppable. A study estimated, and this is back in 2021, that about 94% of enterprise workloads would be cloud-based by then. We're likely even higher now, with a high possibility of nearing a 100% shift for many organizations eventually. This relentless drive is because organizations continue to seek flexible, scalable, and resilient data storage and processing solutions to fuel their ongoing digital transformations and just maintain competitive relevance in a globalized economy.
Now, when regulators look at this market, a key point of debate seems to be its geographic scope. Is it regional or is it global?
Yes, that's a crucial discussion point, particularly for competition authorities. It fundamentally affects how they assess market power. While some regulatory bodies, like the UK's Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA, have sometimes considered the relevant market for core cloud services, IA, PaaS, to be primarily Europe-wide.
So looking at the UK plus the European Economic Area.
Right. But many studies and other competition authorities suggest it's actually truly global in scope. This fundamental disagreement can significantly impact regulatory approaches and conclusions about competition.
Is there evidence supporting the global view?
Yes, quite a bit. Competition authorities in places like the Netherlands, ACM, and France, Autorité de la Concurrence, have indicated that the cloud services market is inherently international due to the global nature of its providers, who serve customers seamlessly across continents.
But don't things like data location rules matter?
They do note that the geographic dimension can depend on nuanced factors like data sovereignty requirements, specific data use cases, data latency needs — you want servers closed for some applications — customer technical constraints, and unique network requirements. So while some aspects might have regional flavors, many product markets, especially for workloads not subject to strict local certification or data residency rules, can indeed have a global dimension.
And providers operate globally anyway.
It's quite telling that major cloud providers routinely serve UK customers, for example, using overseas data centers, demonstrating that physical location doesn't always dictate market boundaries for many services. This interplay highlights that most major cloud providers are active globally, supplying services across continents. Conducting purely national-level studies, therefore, risks yielding incorrect or sort of myopic conclusions because the market is so dynamic and globally competitive.
But what about those data localization rules? Don't they fragment the market?
While some jurisdictions do impose data localization restrictions, requiring certain data to stay within national borders, this doesn't entirely forbid foreign players from competing. We see this with the significant market shares of Chinese companies like Alibaba in Europe, for instance. However, these restrictions do impose additional trade constraints. They adversely affect competition by limiting supplier choice for customers, and they can add significant operational costs and complexity.
So there's risk here.
Yes. It raises a crucial question. Is there a risk of each jurisdiction inadvertently attempting to create its own cloud, leading to costly duplication, reduced economies of scale, and ultimately ineffective outcomes? We saw frustrated past attempts like Microsoft Cloud Deutschland try something similar.
What are the policy implications of this geographic debate then?
From a policy perspective, rigid data localization rules can impose significant and unnecessary costs on economic growth, especially since cloud computing is fundamentally designed for international reach and seamless cross-border operations. Even SMEs now invest in global infrastructure through cloud services. So reviewing such restrictions or adopting common regulatory frameworks and standards in international forums could significantly foster competition and innovation by broadening the pool of available providers and reducing compliance friction.
So acknowledging a global competitive arena is crucial.
Absolutely crucial for a trustworthy and effective diagnosis of market dynamics and for crafting policies that truly benefit businesses and consumers alike, rather than accidentally walling off regions from global innovation.
Okay, so assuming this global or at least very broad market, what does the structure actually look like? Is it dominated by just a few players?
Let's look at a snapshot from 2022 data. The global public cloud market generated a staggering US $421 billion in revenues that year. What's truly striking when you look at the overall market is how relatively dispersed the structure is, with numerous players actively competing.
So not just the big three.
While Amazon Web Services, AWS, held the largest share, it was followed by Microsoft, Google, but then also Salesforce, IBM, Alibaba, SAP, Adobe, Oracle, and ServiceNow in the top 10, with a substantial portion of the market held by many, many other players outside that top tier. It challenges the simple narrative of an overly concentrated market, especially when you look beyond just infrastructure.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. What about infrastructure as a service, IaaS, the basic building blocks?
That segment accounted for about US $115 billion in 2022. The top providers there were indeed AWS, largest, Microsoft, Google, but also Alibaba, Huawei, and IBM, collectively comprising a significant portion of this foundational layer. It's more concentrated here, but still multiple major players.
And platform as a service, PaaS, where developers build applications.
PaaS was the smallest segment at US $86 billion. The top players included AWS, again largest, Microsoft, Google, Alibaba, IBM, and also Akamai. Similar group, slightly different order.
And software as a service, SaaS. the actual applications people use?
SaaS was the largest segment by revenue at US $220 billion, and significantly, it was also the most fragmented. This indicates a very vibrant and competitive ecosystem for cloud-based software. Microsoft was the leader here, driven by Office 365 and Dynamics,
Right.
followed by Salesforce, Huge and CRM, SAP, big in ERP, Adobe, creative and marketing clouds, AWS offering more SaaS now too, IBM, Oracle, ServiceNow, IT service management, Workday HR and finance, and Google, Workspace, and countless others below them.
So even beyond that top tier in SaaS, there are many other significant players in the overall cloud ecosystem.
Absolutely. It's crucial to note that beyond the traditional big three everyone focuses on, many other firms are making noteworthy contributions. Oracle, for example, reported quarterly cloud revenue recently of US $5.1 billion. With over 25% growth, they're a major force. IBM generated US $3.1 billion in quarterly cloud infrastructure revenue. OVH Cloud, a European player, achieved nearly $500 million in cloud services revenues with solid growth. Alibaba is known for its multi-billion-dollar operations, particularly strong in Asia but present globally. And new players, or rapidly growing ones like DigitalOcean, focused on developers, Baidu and Tencent are also continuously emerging and expanding, constantly diversifying the market and challenging incumbents.
And this diversity holds true even if you look at specific regions like Europe or the UK.
Yes. Even when looking at Europe, or the UK specifically, market share studies often show the market remains highly dispersed, indicating fierce competition across the board. Companies like Alibaba, Huawei, SAP, Salesforce, Akamai, Shopify, ServiceNow are significant players there, often overlooked in assessments that focus solely on the U.S. hyperscalers. This really suggests that the competitive landscape is far more deconcentrated and dynamic than some simplified reports might imply. It challenges that notion of overwhelming, entrenched market power.
Okay, so lots of players, diverse offerings. What does this mean for pricing? If it's so competitive, are prices coming down?
Here's where it gets really fascinating and perhaps counterintuitive given inflation elsewhere. Cloud computing prices, particularly for core infrastructure, continue to be generally deflationary. They've actually been decreasing over time despite the broader economic inflation we've seen in many other sectors.
Prices are going down.
It directly highlights the fierce competition among these highly advanced companies. They are constantly innovating on efficiency, driving down their own costs through scale and technology, and passing some of those savings on to customers to win business. There's clear evidence of intense price wars between providers that have been going on for many, many years.
Price wars, like actively undercutting each other.
Yes, leading to incumbents occasionally losing business to new or latecomers who come in with aggressive pricing. The Japan Fair Trade Commission, for instance, specifically noted declining prices in their market study, particularly for IIs, confirming this competitive pressure isn't just anecdotal.
What market characteristics drive this intense price competition?
It's the dynamic nature of the market itself. It's constantly changing, rapidly evolving technologically, and still expanding into new applications and industries. That keeps everyone on their toes. Plus, as we discussed, consumers have a broad set of alternatives from solid multinational companies with ample funding for innovation, constantly pushing each other to offer better services at lower prices. It's hard to rest on your laurels.
And the customers themselves have power here, especially the big ones.
That's another crucial factor. What's particularly insightful here is the role of large customers. A relatively small number of very large customers represent a significant portion of cloud providers' revenues. For instance, in the UK, it was estimated the top 1% of customers in terms of spending account for half of the total revenues for cloud services.
Half the revenue from just 1% of customers. Wow.
Exactly. These large customers possess considerable bargaining power. They can negotiate highly customized contracts, demand specific service levels, and often pit providers against each other to get the best terms. This buying power can potentially offset concerns about cloud providers having excessive market power over the market as a whole. They're definitely not passive price takers.
This brings up an interesting point about profitability. We often hear that these cloud businesses are hugely profitable. Does that automatically mean there's a lack of competition?
That's a really important nuance and often misunderstood in antitrust discussions. Just because a company or a market segment is highly profitable, does that automatically provide conclusive evidence of anti-competitive behavior or undue market power? The answer from most competition economists is no, not necessarily.
Why not? Isn't high profit a sign of market power?
Economic theory doesn't equate perfectly competitive markets with zero or uniformly low profits. Efficient or highly innovative firms can, and arguably should, earn significant economic profits. Think of Schumpeterian rents, the temporary excess profits earned from successful innovation before competitors catch up, or Ricardian rents, profits earned from being inherently more efficient or having superior resources or technology.
So profits can be a reward for being good, not just for having power.
Exactly. These kinds of profits are often seen as pro-competitive because they incentivize other firms to innovate and become more efficient themselves. Using high profitability alone as the primary indicator for assessing market power is often controversial in antitrust communities globally. The fact that an increasing number of firms are entering the cloud services market could simply indicate that it is indeed a highly profitable business to be in, making entry attractive, rather than signaling a lack of competition that keeps others out.
That's a very different way of looking at it. So given all this, the global competition, the falling prices, the powerful customers, the nuances around profitability, what does this imply for policy considerations? Should regulators intervene heavily?
Well, given the fierce global competition we've described and the clear benefits consumers seem to be already receiving higher quality services, more rapid innovation, and generally lower prices over time, directly intervening in business pricing strategies, for example, by imposing artificial price caps or regulating discounts. It seems, as one analysis put it, extremely foolhardy at this moment.
Why foolhardy?
Because such interventions could easily distort the market in unpredictable ways, potentially blunt the incentives for efficiency and innovation, and inadvertently harm the very dynamism that currently benefits customers. It's very hard for regulators to set the right price.
So what should authorities focus on then?
Instead, the focus should probably be on ensuring markets remain contestable. That means making sure that new firms can enter and compete effectively, and that existing firms, even smaller ones, can challenge incumbents without facing unfair barriers. Interventions should ideally occur on a case-by-case basis when clear abuses of market power are identified, rather than through broad preemptive regulations.
What about things like discounts? Sometimes those are seen as anti-competitive.
Discounts themselves shouldn't necessarily be prohibited up front. They are a normal part of competition. The concern arises when they are structured in a way that leads to exclusivity or market foreclosure. Think of loyalty rebates that are so steep they effectively punish customers for using any services from a competitor. So the focus should be on whether discounts are based on reasonable commercial terms and don't lock out rivals unfairly, rather than banning discounts altogether. The key is ensuring fair play, not dictating commercial terms.
What else can be done to help customers in competition?
To truly enhance customer choice and welfare, increasing transparency and systematically removing unreasonable barriers for interoperability, multi-clouding, and switching between providers would be highly beneficial initiatives. Making it genuinely easier for customers to move their data and applications between different cloud providers would significantly increase competitive pressure.
And software licensing. That often comes up as a pain point.
Yes. For software licensing practices that impact cloud deployment, adopting principles similar to fair, reasonable, and non-discriminatory man-fee commitments, perhaps coupled with greater transparency in licensing terms, could mitigate concerns about vendors using licensing to lock customers into their own cloud platform, ensuring fair access and healthy competition for all software on all clouds.
But there are risks to regulation too, right? Overdoing it.
Absolutely. It's crucial to consider the potential downsides of overregulation. Imposing broad limitations on common commercial practices like discounts or mandating very strict technical standards for interoperability too early could inadvertently hinder innovation and economic efficiency. It might slow down the development of new features or make services more expensive.
And it could affect investment.
Yes. This raises an important question. Could such heavy-handed measures diminish a region's competitive advantage in attracting global tech investments? Could regulatory initiatives that make it significantly harder or more expensive to do business compel companies to move digital operations or focus R&D efforts elsewhere in less regulated places? That could ultimately cut off regions from critical progress in cloud and AI technologies, which would be a significant economic and technological setback.
So finding the right balance is key.
It's absolutely key. And that's why the ongoing public consultations by regulatory bodies like the CMA in the UK or others globally are so vital. They highlight the crucial role of dialogue involving providers, users, competitors, civil society in truly comprehending these complex and rapidly evolving markets. This open discussion is essential for carefully evaluating the potential consequences, both intended and unintended, of any governmental intervention on providers, users, consumers, and the broader economy. It's a delicate balance to strike between ensuring fair competition today and fostering the unfettered innovation that drives future progress.
Okay, let's try to unpack all of that for you. We've taken a really comprehensive deep dive today into the dynamic world of 2025 tech M&A, analyzing its powerful rebound and the strategic shifts, particularly towards AI and larger deals that are driving it.
We've explored the absolutely booming cloud security market, an area seeing just explosive growth driven by escalating cyber threats, but also the transformative power of AI, which is proving to be both a challenge and a key part of the solution.
And we've dissected that monumental Google Wiz acquisition, a $32 billion bet on the future of multi-cloud security that's currently under intense regulatory scrutiny, raising fundamental questions about competition and innovation in the cloud era.
We've seen how the very nature of deal-making itself is evolving, with more sophisticated structures like earnouts and special escrows being used to mitigate risk in a complex environment. We've understood how new technologies like AI are fundamentally reshaping both the problems cybersecurity faces and the tools we have to solve them.
And we've truly grasped, I think, how fiercely competitive the broader cloud services market actually is, despite common perceptions. With a diverse array of players constantly innovating, often driving down prices and facing powerful large customers, it challenges any simplistic narratives of market concentration or unchecked power.
So what does this all mean for you as you navigate this increasingly digitized and interconnected world? Well, the tension between fostering rapid innovation through these large-scale strategic acquisitions, which can bring powerful new solutions and integrations to market quickly, and ensuring fair competition for all players, from the giants down to the startups, that tension is only going to intensify.
This isn't a static landscape. It's constantly in motion, driven by relentless technological breakthroughs and shifting market demands. It's complex and evolving daily.
Exactly. So given the incredible growth and fierce competition we're witnessing in cloud services, how do we, as a society and through our regulatory bodies, effectively balance that critical need for agility and innovation, allowing companies like Google to make big bets like Wiz with the justified concerns about market power and potential lock-in?
How do we ensure that regulations genuinely empower customers, provide robust security for everyone, and foster a vibrant competitive environment without inadvertently stifling the very progress and security we rely on in this digital age?
It's a profound question. There are no easy answers, and it's a question that will continue to shape the future of technology, competition policy, and global commerce for years to come. Definitely something to keep watching.
Absolutely. And as you consider the future of your own data and digital security in this complex environment, remember this deep dive was brought to you by Stonefly. They are leaders in enterprise storage, backup, disaster recovery, AI storage, and cloud solutions.
If you're looking for secure, ransomware-proof storage, definitely check out their air-gapped and immutable storage options.
That's right. You can contact sales at stonefly.com to schedule a demo and learn more.